define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ibuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
Okay, so it's 9:16 a.m. and you are tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. We're glad to have you join us today on The Polity. It's Tuesday edition, 10th of February 2026. Like we do, always remind you that what we do is that we bring you governance issues, politics, and what have you not. We take headlines from different newspapers and then make analysis on some of the topical developments in the polity, and we always enjoy you to join us on our social media platforms for deeper engagement on this very program. We are live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Get interactive on that platform. You can also check us out on YouTube and Instagram platforms, Udala Radio. So let's get to deep in this very conversation about Nigeria, because the essence is to point out the ills and at the same time chart a new course when it comes to governance and politics of our dear country, Nigeria. My name is Franklin Ebukana. Once more, welcome to the program. Tono Disambeki, good morning, and thank you for being around.
Good morning to you, Franklin. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, in Anambra. Good morning, Nde Onitsha Donido. Good morning, Nde Osumo. Good morning, Nde Onitsha Market, and good morning, everyone. We remember all the artisans, Ndobanalo, Ndolwaka. We also remember those who are doing essential services, essential service providers, like the healthcare workers, the police, the security agencies. We remember everyone. We acknowledge everyone. We also remember those who are in critical conditions, those who are in distress condition. We remember all of you. So it's a very beautiful thing. Today being Tuesday, the 10th day in the month of February in the year 2026. We thank God for a day like this. We also appreciate God. We give him all glory, honor, adoration for his mercies, for all he has been doing for us. So you have to sit back and enjoy the program. Remember, we are back in the sanctuary to profess only but the truth. It may not sound good. It may not sound, as you may wish, but the whole thing is that we must profess the truth. Once we're in the sanctuary, we are covered by the aura of the sanctuary. You are welcome.
Okay, thank you once more, everyone, for joining this very conversation today. And of course, if you look at the papers, you will see that many things are making the headlines. And of course, maybe sometimes you can say the usual suspect. Of course, if you check the paper this very morning, you will see that there are stories about the perpetual killings and abductions in the country. The one that happened in Kogi, the one that happened in Adamawa, the one that happened in Benue, and just to mention a few. So you will see such developments in the papers this very morning. Also, Senator Natasha Akpoti is also in the news because, she went to court to challenge the suspension by the Senate. First court of instance dealt with it, but she went to appeal court, and appeal court made a statement yesterday. We're going to tell you that. And also yesterday there was a protest in Abuja. It was at the entrance of the National Assembly complex where CSOs, pro-democracy activists, they convened to protest and ask questions regarding what Senate did on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. And guess what? The 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, P2B, was part of that very protest, and he seems to have taken the headline from that very protest. Also, similarly, footballer of River State and his erstwhile godfather, yes, a week in the news over River State political crisis. They were at the presidency or the Aso Rock that was on Sunday, and we gathered that they came separately but they left together. So if that suggests that a truth has been found, only time can tell. And there are other things in the paper this very morning. In Anambra State, Anambra is in news because the state government has suspended 9 teachers because of low turnout of pupils at school on Monday. We're going to bring you all these things today on our conversation, so we ask you to stay with us as we dive into the headlines now to see what the papers are saying. Once more, my name is Franklin Ebuka. Okay, this very morning we have a phone newspapers as usual, and today we are going to begin with the headlines we have on this day newspaper. And the big headline that says Tinubu terrorism giving Nigerians sleepless nights. We will overcome them all. That's story on page 6. It has a writer that says insist security threats unacceptable. Protests in Kaduna as bandits abduct 7. Another headline says the Electoral Act, coalition of CSOs wants 2027 elections may be compromised. It has riders appeal to National Assembly to adopt real-time transmission of results. Pass bill in 2 weeks. Obi joins protesters at Federal Legislature. Abokoba backs call for real-time electronic transmission of results in 2027 polls. NGE, Huriwa, others won Senate. The story is on page 8. This one says National Economic Summit. You can see the picture of Mr. President, the governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma, the governor of Bayelsa, and plenty of others. Because yesterday there was this very NEC meeting that held yesterday. Then this one says at NEC conference, Cardoso declares CBN reforms have achieved economic stability. The story is on page 5. Another headline on the front page of this day says Access Bank's acquisition of South Africa's Bidvest Bank falls through due to regulatory hurdles. Check that story on the business page of this day. We go over to Vanguard newspaper. The big headline says the Electoral Act, Senate open to criticism, will resolve issue today. That story is on page 5. And who is saying so? It is Senate spokesperson. The story has some riders. Protest rocks NAS over e-transmission of results. Obi joins protest, says Nigerians don't want glitch again. NGE, Abokoba, Ame, MCE, fix politics, others speak. CSOs demand real-time result, downloadable voter cards. Another story says Sanwo-Olu flags of health safety initiative for 10,000 Lagos drivers. The story is on page 15. Children chant our community, it's our home as Lagos lawmakers visit Makoko. That story is on page 7. Nigeria will continue borrowing to fund 25.91 trillion naira budget deficit. Senate. It has a rider as NAS vows not to approve further budget rollovers. That story is on page 40. Rivers crisis. Fubara Wike meet Tinubu in Abuja. The story is on page 14. Suspension. Appeal court dismisses Natasha's case. Says Senate acted within its powers. That story is on page 13. Why it's difficult for new players to break into Super Eagles. Chell. That story is on page 48 on the sports column. Chell is the Super Eagles head coach. Then over to the above nameplate of Vanguard. CBN NCC proposed 30 minutes timeline for refund on failed airtime data purchases. The story is on page 19. 9 worshippers abducted during night vigil in Benue Catholic Church. The story is on page 6. Midnight abduction sparks protests in Kaduna Millennium City. It's on page 32. Banditry, terrorism, real economic hindrances, or rather, banditry, terrorism are economic hindrances we must overcome. Tinubu is saying so. This story is on page 9. U.S. intervention in Nigeria, a blessing. Remi Tinubu is on page 8. In fact, she's been speaking ever since she came back from U.S. when she went to join the very Thanksgiving, and she said that many people thought U.S. would have bashed her or what have you not. I also see a report that a broadcaster in U.S. refused to grant her interview because the broadcaster said he would not use his platform for them to launder or do a cover-up on what is happening in Nigeria. Then, another headline we have on the front page of Vanguard is on Mr. and Mrs. Then over to The Guardian. Guardian has some headlines. One of them says fresh borrowings loom as 2026 budget faces 25.26 trillion naira deficit. The story is on page 3. Tinubu wades into Fubara Wike rift again. The story is on page 3. GDP figures no longer enough to measure progress, says Shetima. It's good that it's coming from a government or somebody who is in government. Of course, could know that GDP does not in any way translate to the welfare of the common man. Another headline says fresh killings, abductions, heightened security fears amid drone attacks. Check page 6. Senate to harmonize the Electoral Act today amid protests over real-time transmission. On page 8. Resident protests as terrorists abduct 7 in Kaduna. That story is on page 21 of Guardian. NAC seek judiciary aid for grid power sector stability. Stories on page 5. Natasha loses suspension appeal as court quashes 5 million naira content fine. It's on page 20 of The Guardian. Nigeria's internet speed slips, ranks 85th globally. It's on page 6. Cross River magistrates begin indefinite strike over poor welfare. And those are the headlines on the front page of The Guardian. Then we move over to The Punch. Banditry crisis. FG rejects Northern governor's call to suspend mining. The story is on page 2. Government is saying if we're going to suspend mining for 6 months as called for by Northern governors, Nigeria is going to lose money and it can as well lead to instability in the area. That's according to federal government. Senate reconvenes today as Electoral Act triggers uproar. The story is on page 2 and it has some riders. 3 of them. One says Obi joins NAS protesters. Kuka demands review. Anger mounts over controversial amendment. Akpabio leads tense emergency session. Okay, Oyo Princess launch. Okay, so let's retake this. Oyo Princess launch court fight to preserve Alaafin's supremacy. The story is on page 8. President vows to replace open grazing with ranching reforms. That story can be found on page 7 of The Punch. CBN NCC propose instant refund for failed airtime transaction. It's on page 25. You know what we have now is that if you have a failed transaction, maybe you're trying to recharge your phone using your bank app, or trying to buy power or what have you not. If it fails these days, it takes days for you to get refunded, or you're trying to transfer money to somebody, it takes days for you to get refunded. But this time around, they want to make it 30 minutes. Once it fails, you should be able to get a refund in 30 minutes. Again, US to deport 18 Nigerians on criminal list. The story is on pages 4 and 5 of The Punch. Over 75 million Nigerians face retirement without pensions. The story is on page 24, and Pencon is saying so. Of course, if you look at Nigeria, you know that this very figure is quite tenable, because how many Nigerians are working in the formal sector? Because for you to have this contributive pension, of course, for you to have that very CPS, you have to be in the formal sector where your employer makes contribution, and you also make contribution to make that very saving. But those who are in the informal sector, of course, you cannot run that. So it's understandable why we have that very figure on the high side. Okay, so these are the headlines we have on the front pages of this very newspaper. Oh, there's one we forgot to mention, and that very one is captured on Punch newspaper. It says, "Sit at home. Anambra suspends 9 head teachers over pupils' low attendance." That is on Punch newspaper. If you also check Sun and some other papers, you see that same headline. Okay, so on that very note, we thank you for being with us. So we have to now return for us to do our analysis. Stay with us.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, you are listening to you are listening to the radio 104.7 FM, and this is the Polity. My name is Franklin Nebeka, and I will just told you the headlines we have this very morning. Tony Lisambeki is on the analysis desk, and we'll begin with the story coming from Anambra State, where it's reported that Anambra State government has suspended 9 teachers over proposed low attendance on Monday. From what we gathered, the Anambra State Universal Basic Education Board went on visit to schools yesterday being Monday, at least to find out level of compliance. And some schools were visited. From those schools visited, they found out that there was low turnout of pupils and students despite presence of teachers. And as a result of that, 9 teachers were recommended for suspension for 2 weeks, and it's been approved by the governor of Anambra State. Now, for the purpose of further conversation, the team visited some schools in Dunukofia, some schools in Demley North, and what have you not. Take for instance, they visited Union Primary School in Ubo, which is in Dunukofia local government area of Anambra State, and they only found 3 pupils in that very school. They also went to Waters, a secondary school Ubo, in Dunukofia too. No student was found. The team also went to Hilltop Primary School, if they didn't, 3 pupils were found. Then at Chukura Primary School in Abatete, which is in Demley North local government area of Anambra State, nobody was found in that very school, and some others. And finally, the chairman of the Anambra State Universal Basic Education Board, Dr. Vera Wadinobi, she now announced that these very 9 teachers have been suspended for 2 weeks because of low turnout of pupils. So, Tony, what do you think about this? Should we blame the head teachers for the low turnout of these very students?
Well, it's important we contextualize this very issue. We've known very well that the state government has a blanket ban on sit at home. No doubt, everybody knows this, and we know the push and the efforts put in place by the state government to ensure that this comes to nullity, the issue of sit at home. Yes, the head teachers, they have a role to play. They have a role. And the question is, did they play their role? You asked one question. Were they to be blamed for the low turnout? It is something you must put under proper context. You cannot blame them if they had performed the role expected of them. But you can blame them if they had not done what is expected of them. So you find out that it's not a straight yes or no answer. So they can only be blamed if roles expected of them to play to ensure that the students, the pupils come out, they did not play that role. But if they had played the role, yet the students or the pupils failed to turn up, you can't blame them. Now, because I know before this was handed over to them, they must have been queried. In civil service, you don't just dish out punishment. You must be issued query, and you are expected to respond to the query based on your response. Their response will carry if those roles expected of you were properly discharged, because if in your response those roles were properly discharged, you may not be relieved or you may not be suspended, because you can't tell me that these are only 9 schools where compliance was 0. Others you may not have heard their own could be that based on their query reports, they may have performed what they were expected of, yet the turnout became low. So just like I said earlier on, you must situate this very well. So you must contextualize it. You must put them under proper context. When they fail to perform their role, then the issue of suspension comes, where the authorities, the Anambra State Universal Basic Education Board, just like you said, shared by Vera Wadinobi, they were the one that conducted the on-the-spot assessment, and they reported back to the governor, and they recommended to the governor that this should be the punishment based on the procedural laws, and governor approved the recommendation expected of them. So one would ask,
Yes,
if
sir.
they perform the role expected of them or they did not. So from the report, it seems that they did not perform the role expected of them.
Okay, so if this very assessment was done yesterday, being Monday, could it be possible that that same query was issued that yesterday, response gotten, then recommendation for suspension made yesterday, and approval gotten yesterday?
Because these people were met on the spot. In fact, there are some schools that they were not even on the ground. I don't even understand what I'm saying. There were those that the head teachers were met. So the proper thing is to issue query immediately and get response. The query should be, give us a response why there was this, there was that. We expect it immediately before we leave in this vicinity. I don't even understand me. I'm not there. I'm just trying to imagine such scenario where they will be asked to put their they must give their report. And asking them to give the report is more like a query. So the report they must have given will be looked into. Recommendations will be done by the team that came there to do the on-spot assessment. So the idea is corrective, because we will not concentrate on the punishment itself. The idea is for other head teachers to take note that government is not smiling on this. The idea is by next Monday, because this news must have gone round, must have spread. So if everybody gets to know that if I fail to do what I'm supposed to do, look at what is going to be the likely punishment. So you will find out that by next Monday, go to some of these schools and see for yourself what will be the outlook. Because many of them will draw lessons from these 9, would I call them scapegoats? Yes. Because I'm aware that the ASUPEP may not have covered all the primary and secondary schools in the entire state. They couldn't have done that. So they made some selective appearances in some schools. And these were their reports and findings. There were other schools they went to, but then they saw compliance. There were ones that they also went to, they did not see compliance. So these were the scapegoats.
Okay. So where do you think that these heads just could have failed in mobilizing students to come back to school? Because we know that for a long time, these students had been at home on Mondays, and it will take two sides to restart the school on Monday. One is for the head teachers to make the announcement, reach out to PTA or parents or what have you not. Then next will now be for the parents to release their children to go to school on Monday. So where do you think they could have faulted, or they could have failed in doing what they're supposed to do?
First, look at the rules expected of them. 1, they must ensure that the school is fully open and operational at the same time. That is 1. They will also make sure that every teacher reports to school, because the teachers are accountable to them, answerable to the head teachers. So that is 1. And then the second role expected of them is to actively mobilize and encourage student attendance. Look at what they usually do. They will tell you that the school is going to take attendance, and attendance will be used officially for certain reasons. You know, when you let students know that we are going to take attendance at either at the assembly, during the morning assembly, or possibly we're going to take attendance at the classrooms, and this attendance will be used to ensure certain marks, or you can even say that these attendance carry marks. That if you come to school on Mondays, every school must devise its own method of mobilization. That this attendance definitely carries 10 marks in all subjects. 10 marks in all subjects. You will see that there are those that would also want to meet up the marks. That is 1, because if somebody wants to go to school and if parents will be telling the person, oh, you don't go to school today, sit at home for one reason or the other, the people will tell the father or the mother, do you know what? That if I fail this, I have lost 10 marks. If I don't attend, I have lost my marks. The parents may tell the students, what is marks? What do you mean by marks? Losing marks now. See, but there are things you must have done or put in place. It could not also be based on marks. It could be based on certain requirements for any subject taught in the school. That if you fail to come to school, definitely you may have this or you may have that. there are certain school punishments attached to some of these things. It's part of mobilization. So these are things that will make students to turn up. So we are not going to, sit down here and ensure those things. And then you must also proactively reach to parents. Find a way to get to parents. You can also convene PTA meeting prior to that Monday. Bring parents together and tell the parents the need for their student for them to release them. And if there could be any reason, let the parents take proper excuse. And for students who may not have come to school on Monday, they should have their excuses. They should have their excuses well written, ahead of time. See, these are some of the things the head teachers could have done by ensuring that on that very day you put out calls to parents. Yes, that's why you're a head teacher. See, these are some of the things that could be done to ensure that they turn up. And then the head teachers must also oversee teachers to ensure that they play certain roles, not just because the head teacher can delegate certain roles to some teachers. Get across to parents. So these are ways of ensuring that they turn up. And also find a way to collaborate with the community and authorities, because some of the schools are in some communities. Find a way to get in touch with either the PG of that very community or other organs of the community. Ensure that they make a community announcement. Yes, these town criers, get to them and tell them, please help us to announce, help us to in your platforms. Because some of these communities have platforms. Through these platforms, encourage them, either WhatsApp platform or whatever platform. Even the town hall places, tell them to. These are things head teachers could have done. And you wouldn't tell me if any one of them did all these things. You cannot be suspended. So what are the roles expected of? When we started, I was telling you roles expected of them. Roles expected of them. So if you have done any of these things, definitely will not be. But where you fold your arms and say, okay, if they come fine, if they don't come fine, that is why you are the head teacher. There are roles expected of you.
Okay, so let's move over to River State, where we saw a new meeting, or another meeting between Simfobara, Yesunwike, and the person who midwifed the meeting was Mr. President. In fact, when the report broke yesterday, I was waiting for either of the side to debunk that there was no meeting. As we speak, none of the side has spoken. Even Leroy Lyinka that always, masquerade on every social media platform, he hasn't spoken anything. So that tells us that very meeting was that meeting held. And this very morning, people who were in the know about the meeting in the presidency, they have also confirmed that the meeting held. And it appears like Mr. President has been able to midwife another truce between the two. And from the report that the two of them came differently in their different vehicle, but when they were leaving, they left together in the vehicle of Yeson Wike. If you read some other report, they will tell you that Fubara joined Wike in his vehicle and drove to his home in Guzape, where whatever happened thereafter, we cannot actually say. But looking at how this thing has been going on, for the second time, Mr. President is intervening. And according to a report which were put out by Nation, that Fubara told Wike that he will never disrespect him. So let's start from there.
Well, you said for the second time, from the records I have, this is the fourth time the president is intervening in this issue. And probably you did not put other ones before the present ones. We understand. And we know definitely Mr. President is going to do something of this nature. And we had expected this before now. Just that it's coming the time Mr. President feels it's more convenient for him. So in any case, there were some reports before now that Mr. President has issued directives. In fact, he has called both of them on the phone and has spoken to both of them on the phones. I don't know if they had a conference call. I don't know. But now what happened yesterday was a case where he met them physically. So we know very well that it's all about the resource of the resources of the state, the control of the political structures in that very state, the 2027 positioning, and every other thing. These are the contentious issues. And if you look around, I've seen where many Nigerians have been uploading past videos of Nyesom Wike where he was actually saying that he cannot allow situations where he will help somebody to become a governor. If the person wants to take any decision, the person will come and take permission from his own wife. For what reason? For what reason? Look at Wike's last comment. He cursed some governors who are supporting Fubara, saying that if you are supporting a betrayal, you will be betrayed. And once you are betrayed, you would also, for one reason or the other, collapse. And if you collapse, you will die. He made those statements, and those statements were unbecoming. Very disappointing statement. Very, very disappointing. A statesman like him, or those who may wish not to call him a statesman or a politician or somebody who occupies such position like him, cannot or couldn't have made such statements. He has been hitting himself many times, and he has been also be shooting himself on the foot. And while he was making those statements, Nigerians were busy uploading his past statements. And those statements were against Godfatherism. God forbid that he would not allow somebody he helped to become a governor to come to him, and then he will be the one deciding everything for him, that he will not be independent, he will not have his own personal or independent decisions or choices to make. He was speaking these ways. He never knew there would be a day that all of his preachings, he will violate all of them. These were his preachings. As if he knew that this would come. And it is now time to take some of the things he professed. Many people do not practice what they profess. They profess those things to sound good, to sound politically correct. But in actual sense, those things were very, very superficial. They are just trying to use it to sell impression. These days you can sell impression. And whatever impression you sell, it depends on the buyer. Because the idea of selling impression is to build trust. And for you to build trust, you have to sell impression. And once you sell impression, build trust, transaction can happen. Exchanges can happen. So the point I'm trying to make is, yes, Mr. President, from what we are told both of them in very clear terms that they should respect each other. And most especially that Fubara should see Nyesom Wike as the leader of APC in that state. Yes, we know very well there are party lines and party structures. And party lines and party structures have always said that the governor is the leader of the party. But the president did not say that Fubara should accept Wike as the leader of APC, because Wike is not a member of APC. He is saying allow Wike, see Wike as a political leader, not a party leader. A political leader in that state. So it is important that it is still in line with APC's leadership structure, that the governor is the leader of the party in that state. So Wike cannot be the leader of APC because he is not a member of APC. But Mr. President in his own way says, see him as a political leader. And also understand he has influence. And you as a governor, just like I've always said, you have your own space. Allow him his own space.
So can we call this no victor, no vanquish? Or we can say that this is a disservice to people of Yoruba State?
Well, Mr. President is strategizing. He's just mindful of his 2027. All these things he's doing is just to make sure he puts them in a proper positions where there will be no conflict, for them to ensure that he wins landslide. In River State, it's not a case of who wins or who doesn't win. It's just more like setting out the boundaries. He has set out boundaries for them. I operate from this area, operate from that area. It's all about my success. Yes, you are working for my success. You are working for my success. But we can never imagine that it will be this way. What we had imagined was that by now, Fubara would have been a reject. Somebody who must have been pushed out of the way. But Fubara was able to gain this milestone because he defected to APC. If Fubara had not defected to APC, do you think by now the president would be sounding the way he's sounding? If Fubara had not defected to APC, by now Mr. President may be thinking about the second state of emergency. Yes, and nothing will happen. And this one he is going to impose, he may renew it after 6 months. So Fubara may be out of power until 2027 election, which we have the upper hand and take charge of Mr. President's re-election in River State. But that was exactly what Wike will be aiming. He will be aiming anything that would make Fubara to be decimated, in fact, to be decapitated, to be decimated, to be pushed aside. That's what Wike will be aiming. His aim had always been to be in charge, to be in control. That's his aim. But he was given more like a blow, a punch below the belt. When Fubara defected to APC, everything changed. Every narration changed.
But what do you think about this whole thing says about the man Fubara? You know, somebody who comes out, he blows hot. He blows hot. And when he has one stored, he hibernates. And then if anybody tries to break a truce, he goes again prostrating. So what does this say about him as a person? Does he fall in that category of a betrayer that Wike has always highlighted?
For me, I think Fubara is what we'll call in Igbo, Ebenezer Obiog. Because he's mindful of his limitations and boundaries. I think if not for President, Fubara would have kept Wike where he belongs. If not for President Tinubu. Detach President Tinubu from this saga, from the whole thing. Fubara would even decree that Wike will not enter River State.
So do you think he's calling a political mileage in River State?
The thing is, both of them have just said many times, Fubara never envisaged that Wike would help him to be the governor and at the same time be controlling him. And he has, I know by now he must have listened to Wike's speeches where he decried about some governors who went as far as controlling the people or the governors they helped to become governors. So he never envisaged that. But you asked whether he has called a political mileage. What is mileage in having a feud with your supposed godfather? And the godfather is an overbearing godfather who does not want to the godson, the political godson, to perform, to function. Where anything, even those who are serving the godson, they report to the godfather. No person would allow that, even no matter how good you are. Where any quarrel, even those you have appointed, those you have put in certain positions, will run to the godfather and report to you at the godfather. And the godfather will call you on phone to retrace your steps. You are not in control. You are not in charge. If you go to Ebonyi State, Udala helped Nwifuru to become governor. But we saw how Nwifuru immediately became governor. He started reconciling with those who were political foes to Umahi. Umahi kept quiet and said, I won't come and tell you what to do. You know, and what Nwifuru did was to bring all the past governors together. He brought all the past governors in that very state together in one umbrella. Before now, Martin Elechi and Umahi, they do not see eyeball to eyeball. We've seen situations where he brought both of them together. And we've seen situations where those who had always been against Umahi, he had a way to bring them close. See, but somebody might be thinking, oh, this one you're bringing my enemies close to you. It means that I have lost. So the man faces his business. Umahi is a minister just as Wike. Minister of Works. Wike is minister of FCT. Umahi brought Nwifuru, sponsored Nwifuru single-handedly. Wike sponsored Fubara single-handedly. Can you see the difference between Umahi and Wike? One is overbearing. They did the same thing. They brought these people from nothing. But one is overbearing, the other one is not overbearing. Nwifuru has space, has independence. He makes decisions. He takes choices. In fact, the last time, most of the people Nwifuru has in his cabinet, some of them were nominated by Umahi. But there was a time they did not turn up, either for one thing or the other. He suspended them. And he said, if this repeats again, he's going to sack the person. If Fubara does something like that by suspending those Wike must have brought into his cabinet. What do you think would have happened? What do you think would have happened? Wike were instructing to bring them back immediately. It's all about the way you comport yourself. It's all about the way you present yourself. Wike, for once, thinks he's still the governor of River State. And he still thinks, he still believes. He calls the shots. And look at Fubar and Wifru and Omai. None of them is contesting the political structure in that very state. No, none of them. They don't even context it. Somebody has served, helped somebody to become governor, and also faces his duty as Minister of Works, but somebody who should also face his duty as FCT Minister decides not to face. But it is just politics, just like I've always said. And Fubara, for many reasons, has been patient about some of these things. Just like I told you earlier on, trust that Obobo man. If not for Mr. President, he may have done one thing Wike may not even like. Wike taught him some of the bad things, how to demolish properties. You under Wike as a governor, you dare not challenge him. If you challenge Wike, he will go and demolish your property. In fact, you are building, he will bring it down, and nothing will happen. What if he goes on to do that to Wike now? Mr. President will come in. And they can still do that. But just if he does it, Mr. President will come in. So that is why he's so much concerned about his chances of coming out as a governor. And he has made it very close, very, very clear to Wike. You can't decide his 2027 fate. You cannot. It's no more in your hand. It's no more in your hand. That's why some governors of APC are working so hard to make sure he gets the ticket. You cannot be out of a party you don't have any stake in, and you want to dictate who becomes the candidate of the party. No, it doesn't work.
Okay, so let's see what's going to happen in the coming days, because of course, if any of them is going to speak, because what we know is that at this okay, so let's say the last time Mr. President brokered a truce, Wike talked about somebody not respecting the terms of the agreement, but the agreements were not made specific to Nigerians to know actually what was agreed upon, apart from the few that you read from the media. This time around, if they are going to come out and be categorical and say this is what we agreed on, and then see how they are going to align or abide by it, and perhaps it can as well be the end of the impeachment process against him.
No. The issue of impeachment, remember Mr. President, before he embarked on that state visit to Turkey, he made an intervention. I think it was January 26. Mr. President issued directives to both of them. He had a call, he had the conversations with them over the phone, and then directed that such impeachment plot against Fubara be halted. And it was in that very conversation he also asked Fubara to recognize Wike's influence in Rivers politics, including as both political leader have explained. See him as a political leader. That was January 26th. And even before then, there was another mediation. But we've known that, I think if you add that of January 26th, it will be the fifth one. The first was sometime around October 31st, 2023. After October 31st, 2023, the second was December 18, 2023. The third was around March 18, 2025. Then the fourth was the one of January 26, 2026. Then the last one is now the one of February 9, 2026. So Mr. President has intervened in 5 different times. And one of the interventions followed state of emergency when they did not abide by what he told them and imposed state of emergency. So he has directed. Nobody's talking about impeachment. And look at those young guys, young men in River State House of Assembly. Many of them are puppets. They are not talking about impeachment again. They are, see, look at how they act the script. They are not even hiding it.
All right. So it's quite unfortunate because in the whole mix, there's no place for the people who are supposed to be the ones being served. But at the end of the day, it's about how is it going to benefit Mr. A or Mr. B. Stay with us to go for this very commercial break. Once we return, we dive into what happened at National Assembly yesterday. And of course, we know that by 12, the Senate is going to reconvene. If they are coming to come and harmonize, the report of the amendment, or if they are going to come and take votes, we cannot say it certainly for now. But of course, we have to peep into it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
From the commercial
commercial city of Onitsha comes Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, where authentic news and entertainment meet. Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Please listen to this important information on your good health. Do you know that many deaths nowadays are caused by ignorance on drug abuse? Do you know that many males and females now resort to the consumption of unhygienic concoctions for the treatment of various diseases? Do you know that some even take their lab results to traditional healers for interpretation? Now listen, abuse of scientific or traditional drug destroys the body system mechanism and it kills. Consumption of expired, adulterated, substandard and unpasteurized traditional herbal mixture could lead to health complications. So detoxification of
Now, let's first about to yesterday, what happened yesterday, because there was a protest at the National Assembly where CSOs and what we might call pro-democracy activists, they gathered in front of the National Assembly complex and they were protesting against the action which was taken by the Senate in respect to the amendment of the Electoral Act. It's no longer news that the Senate rejected electronic transmission of election results in real time, whereas the House of Reps passed that, and we have seen different reactions trailing that. So yesterday there was protest, and that protest came ahead of the planned emergency sitting of the Senate, which is going to happen today by 12. Based on the publication that was put out by the clerk of the House, the senators are expected to convene to sit and take some actions in respect to the Electoral Act. Like I said before, if they are coming for harmonization, I cannot say. If they are coming for them to take vote, I cannot say. But Tony, maybe if you have that information, what are you thinking that the Senate is coming to do today?
Well, they are going to revisit their proceedings before now. The last time they had a kind of section, so they are going to look at these proceedings because many of them believe that there was legislative coup. So Senate would come out today, to perfect whatever they may not have done well. So you ask, what are they coming to do today? So they are going to look at the opera, the protest, the brouhaha, the issue of real-time mandatory transmission has caused, and the concerns many Nigerians have raised. I listened to Abdul Ningi. Was it last night? I listened to him. And he was of the view that many APC senators are in support of electronic transmission, just like we have highlighted here. So, and he also made it clear that their proceedings have not been adopted. We are going to look at some of these developments as they unfold. Yes, just like you pointed out earlier on. We're going to see a lot because the emergency section will be starting around 12, as you pointed out earlier on. So it's a special recall from RISEX, directed by the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, to address the fallout from the recent passage of the Electoral Act 2022 Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2020. Remember, they have passed it. So the primary agenda for today's section is to approve and adopt the votes and proceedings from the Senate last plenary, the one they had on February 4th.
So in this case, if they are going to vote and adopt proceedings, is it going to be an open thing where it's expected that each senator is going to vote other than using voice vote?
Remember, just like I said earlier on, we must distinguish these things. Well, they are going to address the fallout, just like I said earlier on. And then, majorly, they are going to, just like I said earlier on, approve and adopt the votes and proceedings from their last plenary, which was on the February 4th, 2026, when the bill was passed after third reading. The bill has been passed. The Electoral Act 2022 Repeal and Reenactment Amendment Bill 2026 has been passed by the Senate, but votes and the votes and proceedings of that day, both of them have not been adopted. And without formally adopting the votes and proceeding, the Senate Conference Committee set up to harmonize differences with the House of Representatives cannot legally proceed or meet. So they must adopt the votes and proceedings of that plenary of February 4th. So if they fail to do that, just like I said earlier on, the conference committee, required by law, whenever a bill is passed by any of the house, there is always a conference committee. Most time we call it concurrence committee. They must concur before the bill is forwarded to the president for his assent. So votes and proceedings must be adopted before the conference committee will be set up. Without it, it cannot be set up. Once approved, it clears the way for the joint harmonization processes between the two chambers. So they are going to perfect some of the things, but I don't know if they will go back to the passage, because they have passed that very repeal and enactment, Electoral Act 2002 Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2006. They have passed it. The only thing left is for them to adopt votes and proceeding. And the essence of adopting votes and proceeding is to clear the way for the conference committee to be set up, where the House and the Senate will harmonize differences generated as a result of the bill. So the ultimate goal, I know very well, is to reconcile the Senate and House versions of the bill. That will be by the time the conference will be set up. So people are still believing by the time the conference is set up, the Senate may soft pedal and allow the House version, which has given room for electronic transmission, real time and mandatory. So the truth remains that the Senate, let me say this, the Senate has insisted, they have made it known that this emergency sitting is not to reverse the bill. For those hoping that the bill will be reversed, they have passed it. So they are making it very clear to people that this emergency sitting is not to reverse the bill or reject electronic transmission outright. And of course, they have repeatedly clarified that they did not abolish electronic transmission. They just removed the real time and the mandatory language, leaving it to INEC to decide. That is, leaving it discretionary for INEC to handle technical issues like network failures. I listened to Senate spokesperson Yemi Adaramodu, and he also made these things very clear. So for many thinking that this emergency section is for them to reverse the bill they have passed and all that, that's not true. So they are just sitting or to clarify certain things,
Okay, so
and at the same time adopt their votes and
Tony,
proceedings to set way for
Tony,
conference committee.
So at the point of harmonization, do you think that these protests we have seen so far, the kicks, the condemnations, the name callings, and even the calling on phone by Nigerian, because the numbers of those who are in the conference committee were released by Yaga Africa and Co. In fact, all the CSOs who are involved in this very amendment process, they read their phone numbers on Nigeria, said call them and talk to them the way you want to. And from what I gathered, many of them were even forced to switch off their phone because the calls became unbearable. So do you think that all these kicks we have seen so far will in any way impact on what is going to happen at the point of harmonization? Yes, there. I believe you also watched the SDP presidential candidate during his session yesterday. I think Prince Debayo, where he said that what happened yesterday in front of the National Assembly complex was a parade. That they are planning something bigger if Senate fails to do the right thing.
The truth remains that there is still hope. The only hope left now is the harmonization committee. Yes, they will first and foremost adopt their votes and proceed, just like I said. Then now paves the way for harmonization. And I don't know if the harmonization committee will sit today. But let's assume they sit today, because it will be chaired by Senate Committee Chairman on Electoral Matters, which is Simon Lalong, Senator Simon Lalong. I don't know if you remember Senator Simon Lalong, former governor of Plateau State, and he was the DG of Tinubu's campaign organization. Before now, I recall, he was appointed a minister, but he won a court case. Recall that the appeal court invalidated the election of PDP senators who were sworn in, and he was one of the beneficiaries of such annulment. So he communicated to Mr. President that he would be more interested in going to the Senate as against returning his ministerial appointment. And that was how he abandoned being a minister back to the Senate. And he is the chairman, Senate Committee on Electoral Matters. I'm just trying to give you some brief about Senator Simon Lalong. He was the one during the time the Senate was going about these amendments. They conducted public hearing and they returned real-time transmission, mandatory language, and at the same time electronic transmission. Real-time transmission, mandatory language, and electronic transmission. His committee returned that, and it was also approved at the committee of all. Just that when it was to be put to voice vote as usual to adopt it, there was legislative queue by 5 persons. We say this is history. Now he is going to chair that conference committee, Senator Simon Lalong, and that conference committee is also called Harmonization Committee. And recall that the House version of that repeal and reenactment bill of 2026, that's the Electoral Act, the House version kept stronger mandatory real-time provisions. They didn't joke with that. The House version has it. The real-time, all these things Nigerians are clamoring for, the one passed by the House has all these things. So one must give away. Yes, at the conference, one must give way. Either the House version gives way to the Senate version, or the Senate versions gives way to the House before it must be sent to the President. Now, I know very well that this has not taken party lines, but we are seeing the party handwritings on the wall. I've listened to many of them. They are saying the same thing. Many of them. Would the House of Representatives contingent give way to party handwritings on the wall? Recall very well that they have the majority everywhere you go. As far as APC is concerned, at the Nigerian Senate and the House of Representatives, APC is everywhere you go because they dominate. And the party handwritings are becoming clear. Listen to some of their principal officers. They are making the same statements. So it is manifest, it is obvious, conspicuous. Would that also give way to the yearnings of many Nigerians? Yes, the protest must have been acknowledged. And I'm also learning that those who are going to protest today, just like I said earlier on, it is important we understand some of these intricacies. They are not going to reverse what they have done. They are just sitting to to adopt their votes and proceeding, and also make clarifications. So there will be many converts. Some of the APC senators who are before now against what the Senate did on February 4th by the ambush and legislative coup, they will be placated, they will be spoken to, they will be converted to the side of Abio. But would that also have a strong influence? I would wish that the House of Representatives contingent at the conference committee level, I wish they would stand tall to their own version. I wish, but
all right. So
we're still
going to talk about the protest yesterday that saw the presence of Mr. Peter Obi, and we watched that very protest. We didn't see any other high-ranking member of the ADC or any other high-ranking member of other parties in the opposition.
Yeah.
Peter Obi was the person who was conspicuous in that very protest. That we also saw some other members of the CSO. Some persons even came with what's it called again, foam and and blanket, because I don't know whether they plan to sleep there or something like that. But we're going to come to that. We also saw the likes of Loretta Onochie on the same platform with Peter Obi asking for the same thing. Is this same Loretta Onochie who was like an albatross to Obi when Buhari was in power? And people were asking questions how the table turns. Now, Tony, one issue that has been out there, people have been debating, is the issue of whether we have network coverage. Yesterday you dealt with it. We're still going to listen to an audio from the program manager of Yaga Africa and the ED of Yaga Africa, where they're trying to give advice regarding the network coverage. There's also an audio too regarding what is the definition of this very real-time transmission as contextualized by the CSOs who are involved in the amendment process. Because this very amendment, those provisions or those clauses in this very amendment act, people came together to put it together. Yaga Africa was involved and some other CSOs who were involved. So they will explain what they conceptualize in the idea of real-time transmission. The first one we're going to play is, let's get to hear from Yaga Africa, the program manager of Yaga Africa, and then the ED on facts regarding network coverage in Nigeria. Let's hear this.
I think it's important to clearly state here that the Electoral Commission has told us previously they have infrastructure to do that. We have been transmitting results before now. What we seek to achieve is to make this mandatory because of the Supreme Court decision in 2023. We want this to be part of the Electoral Act and no longer part of the INEC guideline.
INEC and NCC constituted a committee in 2018. That committee was headed by the director from NCC and the National Commissioner. 93% of polling units in Nigeria have coverage. This is data from INEC and is established in the public. So let no senator or let no politician, deceive Nigerians that there is no connectivity. In fact, in 2023, less than 15,000 polling units were declared in dark spots. And it's dark spot that there is no connectivity, but that they will still upload, and when they get to the place where there's connectivity. So when you check, it is statistically insignificant.
Okay, so Tony, you heard what Cynthia Mbamalo of Yaga Africa and then the ED Santini Todo said regarding network coverage. He said 93% of polling units in Nigeria have network coverage based on INEC survey and what have you not. So Tony, if you can just put in small word here before we get to listen to the second audio.
From what we heard, I've heard this before now. There was a committee set up in 2018. I said it yesterday. And that committee was chaired by then Nigerian Communication Commission's chairman, or the EG as it were at that time, and then they came up with a paper. I explained this since yesterday, and the paper they came up with say that we have, like I put it yesterday, over 83%, but it is now clearer, not just 83, 93% of all the polling units in this country have network coverage, and we have over 170,000 polling units. Over 170,000 polling units, and when 93% of them have network coverage, the other ones are the material is insignificant. It's not going to affect anything in the election. So it's just a case of 7%. 7% is insignificant, especially when you are making aggregations. So it is now obvious. So the issue of network, remember I have downplayed it, that nobody should use network. Even those areas you are talking about, the 7% areas you may think you don't have network, as of 2018 may have network. I said it yesterday because it was a report of 2018, and we know there must have been improvement from 2018 down to 2026. So you should also understand that there has been a kind of forward move on improving network infrastructure in Nigeria. The point I'm trying to make, nobody should use network as an excuse to be the reason we should not do what we are supposed to do. So network aside, so I've said it many times, and it is the way I explained yesterday.
Okay. Now, the second thing is the issue of real-time transmission, because from what I have gathered, because I have followed different reactions, different explanations, people are trying to explain real-time on the virtue of the literal meaning of real-time, without bringing the context of election into it. Now, people will tell you that real time, for the fact that we do not vote electronically, as you are voting, the result is being seen somewhere on the dashboard, that is not possible. But Sans Nitodo, in this same explanation, no, he explained what they conceptualize by real time upload of results. So let's get to also listen to this very audio, and then we get to wrap up this very conversation.
The presiding officer electronically transmits that result to a central portal at the end of proceedings at the polling unit, where transmission is happening at the polling unit in the presence of everyone. The second is, if transmission is happening at the collation level, it means after the results have been collated and entered in the form EC8B or form EC8C, there is no need to delay the upload or the transmission. You transmit it immediately. That's what real time means. Please, Nigerians should know that real time does not mean that as you are voting, your results, your vote is being transmitted and is collated somewhere. No, that's not real time. Secondly, real time is not electronic collation. So please, let's help inform Nigerians so they don't get, manipulated by some of those who have misappropriated this whole concept of real time.
Okay, so yesterday I was talking about the essence of interpretation page in any kind of law being made in Nigeria. If you check Electoral Act, you see that that's what they call interpretation page, where certain terms used are interpreted there. And whenever a court wants to make interpretation, court makes interpretation based on those things. I'll give you an instance with what happens with our qualification for one to contest for the post of presidency. And they said, the law says at least SSCE. Now, if you go to the section that interprets what SSCE means, you will see different interpretations, and that has guided the court in whatever it has done. So if the problem we are having is with the meaning of interpretation, what stops us from going to that very page and give the definition of real time in the context of the election that we're talking about, Tony?
Well, I'm aware that may be updated, because most times when there is repeal and reenactment, because if you look at the bill in question, it's not just repeal, it's also reenactment. So I'm very much aware that it will be updated. The interpretation page, it will be updated. I don't think there will be any ambiguity about that. But coming back to what Samson Itodo said, we said this thing yesterday. I explained the issue of real time. And exactly what I said is what he also said. And then he is speaking as somebody who is an expert when it comes to the issue of electoral matters. But I was speaking as somebody who is also an expert when it comes to the issue of network communications. There's a course, a master's degree course in most universities called Computer Network Communications. And also there's another course known as Internet Technologies. It's a course on its own. And there's also another course, of course, even it's been done in the undergraduate level, even database. So I was speaking yesterday as an expert in that area. So that was when I said, real time, I said it, real time does not mean you seeing the whole thing at the dashboard as, no, it doesn't mean. The real time there means that at the moment, the polling officer must have, let me use local language, I don't want to use collated. By the time the polling officer must have tallied or counted the votes, entered them in form EC8A, and also announced to the voters who were there, he captures it and upload to the IREF or to the server. That is real time. And I made a clarification yesterday. I said, in the case of Kenya, they will take it to either the local government collection center or another collection area. They will aggregate all of them and started uploading at that point. Their own is near real time. That was what I said yesterday in the case of Kenya. Their own is real because their own is not done from the polling unit. Their own is done at a place where they will start uploading from that very place. But why is real time is at the polling unit. And I did also explain yesterday that places or where there could be any glitch, once you send it, it gets to what is called buffer. I explained this in yesterday. And you cannot retrieve it. And what buffer does is a temporary storage space where once there is a network signal, then definitely it gets in touch. And for those who felt that there will be hacking and all, I explained some of these things. There is another course in computer science called network security. That's where you have terminologies like handshaking protocols. That's what they call handshaking protocols. And there are different handshaking protocols. You have the TCP, you have the SSL, you have the there are so many of them. We may not exhaust here. So the point is, forget all these talks. These things are doable. They are doable. And we have explained it many times. In fact, one of our callers yesterday, I think somebody posted on Facebook and said, can you explain these things to us?
All right. So Tony, somebody is asking, where is Atiku and some other opposition members who we are not seeing at the place of the protest yesterday? Why Obi?
What? I know many Nigerians are asking the same question. Where is El Rufai? El Rufai said he would have joined Obi. That's what he said. That if not for one thing or the other, he had wanted to join Obi at that protestation. We didn't see Atiku. We didn't see Chibika Mechi, Rotimi Chibika Mechi. Those who were angling for presidency will contest. None of them was cited at the venue of the protest. But Peter Obi showed up. And I don't know if he's going to show up today. But there had been this argument yesterday whether it was necessary or not necessary. There are those who believe his appearance was very necessary to push the passage of electronic transmission and also the mandatory language retained and the real time also retained. Because these three things, we have explained them, they serve two different things. Real time at the polling unit, you will do it once you must have filled that from EC8A. Once you must have filled it, you must capture it. That's real time. And transmission, you are going to use beavers to upload. That uploading it using beavers when you must have captured it, that's transmission. That's transmission. So the mandatory, it is mandatory. You must do it. It's by law. But one thing we have forgot, and I want to also, I know you asked where are all those people you mentioned? Where are them? Where were they? Why didn't they join the protest? They have different intentions. Article will feel so big to join protest. We have not seen Atiku join protest before. Remember in 2011, El-Rufai, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our president, and many of them, even Buhari, we are all protesting along different routes of Lagos State when there was fuel hike by then Jonathan administration. We saw that, but we've seen them on protestation. But Atiku, I have not seen him joining any protest since I've known him. And also you talk about Duchibike Rotimi Amechi and some other persons. I had thought that even that is Baba Ahmed, who is also has declared his intention to run for president under the platform of Labour Party. I thought that many of them would come in there. And you saw how security forces prevented them from getting entry into the National Assembly complex. I saw contingents of Army, Navy, Air Force, DSS. They were on hand to ensure that they did not have access. But that's by the way. So I think there's one thing we are forgetting. And it is not written in that law. And I did say yesterday, even if they allow electronic transmission, let me tell you, it does not in any way immune whatever malpractice that could have come out of it, because they may deploy glitches. These things will not work. My concern is this: what becomes of the manual from EC8A and then the electronic version? Because if we return all these things, we have two versions now: the manual one, the electronic one, because the one you have uploaded to the server is the electronic one. Where there is conflict, which one subtends? We have not addressed that, because definitely somebody may mutilate the forms and import another result at the world collation level, local government collation level, or even the state collation level. Somebody may import a written results and try to swap it, change it with the ones obtained from the polling units. If that happens, because if that happens, what it means that we are going to have a different version from the one uploaded and the ones they have brought in. Which one are we going to take? They did not address this issue. And if you do not address it, all these things we are doing is nonsensical. Go and take it to the bank. All this electronic collation, transmission is nonsensical. If we do not address the conflict which may arise between the manual and the one uploaded to the server, which one are we going to use?
Okay,
that has not been addressed.
That's when the case gets to tribunal or gets to the court. Which one can be referenced as a valid? Because
INEC may resort to the one that the machineries have brought in and declare the person winner. You now go back to the courts.
All right. So let's go for this very commercial break. Once we return, it will be time for you to join this very conversation. Stay with us.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, Abachi chande dosialo. Wendy's bread, Mama Papa they like Wendy's bread, Chicha nenyanduo. Wendy's bread, even children they like Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread, and in town. Wendy's bread, you get the better tasty we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, 2nd Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza, Atani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
When you think of roofing, think of strength. When you think of durability, think of beauty. And when you think of all three combined, think Best Aluminium MFG Limited. At Best Aluminium, we don't just manufacture roofing sheets. We create protection, comfort, and style for your home and business. Whether you're building from scratch or repairing an old roof, we have exactly what you need. Our products include stone-coated roofing sheets, aluminum roofing sheets, and colored roofing sheets. But that's not all. We also offer residential and commercial roofing services, roof repairs, gutters, emergency roofing services, and even durable cookwares that bring quality to your kitchen. Visit us today at 30/32 Anyika Street, Awada Obosi, Anambra State, or call us right now on 0806 416 2374 or 0706 059 6203.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so it's time for you to get involved in this very conversation we're having since 9:15 a.m. You are listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM, and this is The Polity. My name is Frank Nebukanda. I've been with Tony Olisambeki, who has been offering analysis on the issues we have raised for our morning. And on the other side, don't forget that the appeal court Abuja Division upheld its suspension of Senator Natasha Akpoti, saying that the Red Chamber acted within its constitutional powers and the procedural powers. So let's go to the phone lines now. Good morning. Okay, now ready for us. Hello.
Good morning, Mr.
Yeah.
Franklin.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Good morning. Anthony Necheta, you from Onitsha.
Yes, go on, Mr. Anthony.
On the hot issue in Nigeria, this matter of electronic transmission real time. And I still maintain that if this word that is defined and interpreted in the context of this general election, South Dakota will have its own definition about real time. Mr. Tony Olisambeki will have his own definition. I will have.
Hold on first. Hold on. Like I said, people who conceptualize these provisions have defined what real time is. Itodo did not conceptualize it. There were several CSOs, European Union and what have you, who were involved in this. The National Assembly too, and likewise the expert they engaged during zonal hearings that they had. They conceptualized all these things.
Yes. Yes. And the question is in how they have conceptualized it now, has it been engraved in the PA? Is that interpretation? Because we are still trying to make up the PA now. So if it is not engraved in the interpretation of this act when it's being enacted, unfortunately, elections are decided in Nigeria by the judges and not by the electoral bodies. So unfortunately, when this thing goes to court, you will hear a technical meaning of real time. And from the explanation given from the analyst in the studio, that it should be uploaded immediately at the polling unit. Now, in case of when there is connectivity or network, once you send it, it goes to the buffer. And when there's connectivity, the thing will be delivered. Now the question will be in the court: did the presiding officer?
Sorry, I have to butt in here. I think you are still. I'm sorry, but you are still getting this thing wrong. That the issue is not when it is delivered. The issue is when it is transmitted from the point
when it is uploaded. The time it was uploaded
from the polling unit. It once they are done counting the ballot,
yes,
and everybody signs, and
yes,
it's uploaded from that polling unit. That has become the transmission expected.
Yeah,
it's not about when it's delivered.
And remember that whenever collation starts at the ward, from ward to local government, from local government to the state, from state to the general presidential collation center, if you're talking about presidential election. So there is no time if you are moving from the polling unit to the local government. Definitely by the time you get to the local government, every local government I am sure has network. So just like you heard, we have 93% as of 2018. We have said some of these things during the analysis.
Yes. Yes. I'm just using the instance of this message you are sending. Will it be confirmed that it was uploaded at that polling unit? Because when the message arrives, it doesn't come with the time of when the message was sent. You will see the time in your phone when the message arrives in your phone. So how can we know that the presiding officer uploaded it immediately after collation? That's my concern. I know it should be mandatory, but who proves that it was done immediately after collation? That's my concern.
All right.
Because we can increase it, and the presiding officer may do it at another time and say that he uploaded it immediately after. So if they arrive after, if the uploading time will be seen that this is the time it was uploaded, it was sent. Fine, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay.
All right.
So they will not place smart on us.
All right.
So, and again, finally,
Thank you.
nobody's talking about collation.
Thank you. I think we have to take another call. Let me say this before we move to the next call. I will advise we as Nigerians, we can take our time to read about, how, BVAS works. And in the coming days too, if we're able to make contact within INEC, get INEC engineers who can talk about how this BVAS works, so that this concern of the last caller will be addressed. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for calling.
Thank you for taking my call. Dr. Tony Becky, thank you for in-depth analysis that almost got me confused because it's quite a lot. But having said all that, I don't really know where we're going. No matter any mago will do whatever we want to do. Senate say, House said, and all that. No. Bad things don't last forever or for some time the way it's beginning to last in our country. It is wrong. It is against any form of democracy. It is an aberration. Look at this first analysis, Wike and Governor and Wike and the Governor Fubara and the President, because President put him there. Because we put this one there. Has it gotten to a stage where we've got to put people there so that election will succeed in Nigeria? What do we think we are doing now? All of them are addicted to APC. Are we now trying to form a one-party system? We've not convinced ourselves yet. How come everyone is going there? Why are they going there? What is Mr. President giving them? Why is that happening? We know it is wrong. Do we have to call Mr. Trump to come and ask them why they are doing that? Because I'm sure that's not what they do in America. We've got to be very careful in our country. We are overtaken by impunity and ignorance. We've got to be careful. God bless Nigeria. It's already blessed. Don't mind these people. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you for joining the conversation. The phone lines are saved there for you to call in. Good morning.
My name is Badmos. I'm calling from Udala.
Go on, Mr. Badmos. Oh, sorry for that, Mr. Badmos. You can try again. Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Good morning to these engineers who will be calling from Oka.
Go on, engineer.
I think Yaga Africa did a wonderful work in this. Yes. Give kudos to them. There is nothing confusing in this. It's just their deceptions, trying to confuse the people. House of Rep has done it. Then he passed it. The committee, there are a whole committee between Senate and Rep. Why not garbage in, garbage out? Bring that House of Rep and pass it. Then they are trying to confuse. Then coming to Dr. Tony saying even if he is passed and another one mutilated, Dr. Tony as an expert shouldn't be raising that question. Somebody on the street or something ask that, but he shouldn't be asking it. If you present one passing sent in a polling booth, certified by party agents, electronic transmitter, and then you bring a mutilated one, you don't know which one to pick. It's part of the reception now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, engineer. Hello. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Yeah, good morning, Frank.
Good morning.
I'm Antonio Sanders.
You're welcome.
My name is Mayoguchi Kakalutama. Well, let me start with the one Mr. Tony Zambeki said. Even if it is being included and everything is being done in the Constitution, there will still be a way. Yes, we know. But with that being said, to me, only that what we have in this country is cut and carry justice, and But if you ask me, and I want to be upright in whatever that I'm saying, that one that is being submitted online supposed to be authentic, because the whole party agent was there before it was uploaded. You understand? So that should be the one that should be considered clean and correct. If we are in a same a society of which you and I know that our justice here, majority of them are cut and carry. You understand? So I don't blame you on what you say, because you are still right. You may still use that, you find a way just to read. If Supreme Court can tell us different things on what we understand by 24% of the whole state, for you to know that anything can be used to deceive Nigeria just to get whatever they want to get. That is my solution. Until we are serious in this country, that is why we start looking for a good election and all that. Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mario K. Hello, good morning.
Wonderful morning to Franklin, Tony Zambeki. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I'm calling from Onitsha.
Yes, go on, DK.
Thank you so much. Let me just go straight to the point. I think we have passed the stage that we are going back and forth because of elections that we have done over and over and over and over again. Nigeria should be setting the pace in Africa. Do you know that this same beaver that they use in Ghana, even in most developed countries of the world, why are we like this? Why are we going back and forth? Just because you want to be in office? That is why you cannot do the right thing? In the real time or half time, what we are looking at, this e-transmission has been there. I mean, why are you altering it? Why are you even going there? Are we not supposed to be moving ahead? Are we comfortable with this voter anarchy? People come out and say that their vote doesn't count. Are we comfortable with that position? Is that what our children will look at and say that we have done the right thing? Creating voter anarchy here and there. Now, this ruling party called the APC have about 20-something governors to their side. They have the police, they have the Navy, they have the DSS, they have the INEC, they have the National Assembly, the Judiciary. Yet they are still afraid of free, fair, credible elections. Why? I mean, why are they afraid of free, fair, credible elections? Having gotten the majority of the governors, majority of the senators, majority of the House of Reps, the military are there for them, okay? And you are still afraid of free. Look at what's going on back and forth also in Rivers State. Almost all the political parties is having problems today courtesy of this upcoming elections. People are telling you this is what we want. Isn't that democracy? Why can't you give people what they want? Even if what they want, majority of the people need this e-transmission, and you come out with real time and half time. I mean, who are you trying to deceive? You talk about network. If Boko Haram can be in a deep forest in the bush, connecting and abducting and raising up ransoms here and there. Now you are telling us about 9 states that doesn't have network. I mean, how do you expect us to believe you in this digital era?
All right.
Very unfortunate situation we found ourselves in. And one thing is this: posterity knows how to reward everyone concerning what we have done, because our children, they will ask us questions. What did you do at a time like this?
All right. Thank you,
Very
DK.
unfortunate.
Thank you, DK. So let's quickly dash to our Facebook page. Also, Francis Namani says, the National Assembly should listen to the calls by eminent Nigerians and ensure that electronic transmission of result is duly contained in the Electoral Act to guarantee credible and transparent polls. And he goes on to say, Nyesom Wike should allow peace to reign in River State. For goodness sake, Mr. President should call him to order for the sake of peace and tranquility to the state. He posted from Enugu State. And he also asking that government at all levels should collaborate and explore every possible measures towards tackling the spate of insecurity we have in the country. Okay, Gonas is asking, okay, he says, okay, so let's go with the first one. Is Wike the godfather governor in Nigeria? He should allow Fubara to govern River State for God's sake. And he adds that he has no belief in our Senate on this emergency sitting that they have convened for today. According to him, nothing good is going to come out of it. Christian Umunakwe says the sitting in the National Assembly today would be highly pivotal in deciding the fate of Nigerians in our political class. We are looking forward to the decision of the Senate led by Senator Gaswila Babio. Then Komunino KK says he posted from Ojoto. He said our governor has not done well by suspending those teachers. He should have used other methods because the teachers can force the children to come to school if their parents refuse. Secondly, I have thought that Governor Oti of Abia State filed a case against federal government for not approving or granting them the permission to build cargo airport in the state. Moko Young Lake, thank you for watching from Umoji. And Tete Patrick says, please tell Ababio. Okay, Tonton is telling you, he said, tell Ababio your brother. Yeah. Patrick, go. So he said, tell your brother to give us what we want and leave the internet for us to worry about. Okay, he posted from Calabar South. Okay, Dr. Mrs. Molebra from Owerri says a nation is deemed to have failed when good programs no longer work, where morality in leadership is scarce and leadership does not positively touch or inspire the led, and they remain insensitive to their yearnings and aspirations. Thank you for reaching out. Then City Man says making attendance to be what my child will use and pass, he will definitely fail. But I think to enforce this will have to be a gradual process. For now, my kids stay at home on Mondays. He posted from Subway. Chukwemeka Anthony says to think is very simple. Okay, he's saying Tony thinks it's a simple arithmetic. Who in his right mind will risk his kids on Monday? For now, he needs to realize it's a gradual process. Okay, alright. So, Chukwemeka, I will advise you, if you are sending us a message, please. If you are sending us a message, write what I can read. If you call names, it defeats the purpose. Okay, we want you to be heard. Emmanuel Chiadi says, using Anambra case of Ngige, Oba God for the reason saga, Oba lost out and Anambra is liberated despite pro-Basanjo support to Oba. As stakeholders must find a way for Wike to lose and for River State to be free, since what is at stake is River State development and the people's will. Okay, so he says they should work towards positive outcome. Then Masobe says National Assembly should not take citizens as uneducated people. If there is no network service in 9 states, federal government should provide vehicles to move voters to location where there is network service. FM Onitsha, do you think that is possible, given that people have polling units where their names are attached to? Okay. Then this one is from Austin Mogu. He says he posted from Fego Onitsha. I want to ask Tony, if the Senate accepts and includes real-time transmission and pass it, and Mr. President rejects or assent to it, what will be the fate of Nigerians? Or if the Senate refused to add real-time transmission, passed it and sent to Mr. President, and the President assent to it, can we, the voters, force INEC polling unit officers to transmit our votes at the polling unit at that time, which is also real-time? Okay, so Tony, we'll start from there.
All right, let's quickly start from that one. Let's address it first. Remember, the Senate cannot send to Mr. President without harmonization committee meeting. There must be concurrence. Even if the bill starts from the Senate and the House did not pass it, the House will also agree to what Senate has passed. So, Senate cannot just send, House cannot just send, they must harmonize it. But let me address the last one you asked. If Mr. President fails to sign it, what happens? There is a guideline to that. The House will repass it again. And if they repass it again, it will become law without Mr. President signing it. So Mr. President can communicate to the House saying that I will not sign this based on this. But if the House listens to the reasons, they can consider his reasons and add those things he may wish. But if they feel that his reasons are not in order, they have to repass it again. The Constitution says repass it again, and it becomes law. But you know, this Senate cannot do it because of the relationship.
No, I think where he was going to is, he said, if eventually that
the president signs it,
the law is passed, and it does not reflect what Nigerians want, can Nigerians now go to polling unit and force INEC officials to transmit results?
If this president personally, or maybe if the law is not passed the way Nigerians wanted it, it becomes subject to INEC guidelines. And remember, INEC will always tell the polling officers to upload it. But if they fail to do so, you can mandate them. You may force them, but you remember, you can't force them using any form of violence. You may tell them that the guideline says you should, but if that is not in INEC guidelines, there's no point forcing them. But if it is written in INEC guidelines, you can tell them INEC guideline says this, so do it. But even if they do it, it means nothing. It's just for your viewing pleasure. It have no root in law. So it's for your viewing pleasure. If that is not mandatory or it has no legal backing, it means that even if INEC gives it as a guideline, it becomes for your viewing, just for you to view, and it means nothing else. Then somebody asked a question. Let me say this thing. There was no time the governor or the government of Abia State sued the federal government at the International Criminal Court. I think there was a time this thing happened in 2024. Over seaport or airport denial. In fact, in the one of 2024 was over seaport denial. That the governor Alex Otu wanted to construct seaport, and the federal government refused. So he went and sued federal government at the ICC. That was in 2024. But the one of 2026 has to do with the airport that Alex Otu has gone to World Court, as we call it, the ICC, to sue federal government over denial of or non-approval of airport. This is fake news. I'm aware that it was yesterday or thereabouts that the Commissioner for Information in Abia State debunked this. He came out to say this is categorically fake news. I'm just trying to, quote the commissioner verbatim. Okay, Kano described it. In fact, he said it was fake, malicious, fabricated, and misleading.
Okay.
So for those who are still spreading it, I don't know why so many people are attributing things that LSOT did not do just to please him, to glorify him. I don't know why. But that's by the way. That is, let's get to the other ones. Okay, quickly. I did say there must be a provision in the law that when there is a conflict between the uploaded version and the manual version, that the uploaded version takes precedence. If it is not in the law, it becomes at the discretion of courts. It becomes at the discretion of INEC. We don't want to leave anything at anybody's discretions. We want everybody to follow what the law says. And that's why I said it is very important when I was doing the analysis. Whenever there is conflict, there could be conflict of the uploaded version. I'm saying in event that the law is passed.
All right.
So it should be in the law, not you leave it for the judge to decide for you, not you leave it for INEC to decide. It should be in the law. So these things are supposed to also guide us properly, because the idea is to have a very credible election come 2027.
All right. So on that very note, we end today's conversation, and we thank every one of you